Episode 17, Table Number 8.
Darling, where are we going?
Jonah asked. The more she looked at Jake, the more attractive he seemed to become.
Wait and see.
Jake smiled, keeping one hand on the steering wheel. He placed his other hand on her thigh and started rubbing gently. He was popular with the girls, so dating him made Jonah look cool. If he made to move on her, would she stop him? She glanced at his hand on her thigh, but she said nothing. Finally, they stopped in front of a restaurant.
Wow, the Cafe Adriatico. Honey, is this where we're eating?
Her eyes widened in disbelief. Cafe Adriatico was one of the top restaurants in New York.
Surprised. Come on, let's go in. I made a reservation.
He said with a smile. He had paid a lot of money for a table here, much more than he could afford. The restaurant was far too expensive for students, but it was worth it to make Jonah so happy. She took his arm and they walked into the restaurant. As soon as they stepped inside, a young waiter walked over to greet them.
Hello, welcome to Cafe Adriatico. Do you have a reservation?
He blushed as he spoke and then gave them an embarrassed smile.
I'm sorry, this is only my first day, and I'm still learning the ropes.
It's fine.
Jake said.
I have a reservation under Wild.
Mr. Wild, you're at table 8. Please follow me.
The waiter said, leading the way to their table. Looking around, Jake and Jonah were more satisfied with their surroundings.
Oh, this is lovely.
Jonah said.
Just what you'd expect from such an upmarket restaurant. I've never eaten anywhere so nice.
The restaurant was very romantic, with a lot of open space, comfortable chairs, crystal chandeliers, luxurious tablecloths, and candles on every table. Just as they sat down, a small group of musicians came over to their table, playing the accordion and a violin while someone else sang. Everyone was watching their table with envious expressions, and Jonah felt like a princess.
Thank you so much, darling. This is wonderful,
she said, remembering how Jeff had only taken her to the cheapest places. Thank goodness she had ditched him. She took out her phone and began recording herself.
Come on, baby, get into the shot with me.
They filmed themselves, making sure everyone could see the restaurant behind them. Jake posted the video and tagged his friends, specifically mentioning where they were. Within minutes, people began to reply.
Jonah, you're eating at Cafe Adriatico? That's amazing.
One person said. Someone else said.
I'm so jealous. No one has ever taken me there.
Oh, you're being spoiled,
said a third person. The comments made Jonah's heart swell with pride and confirmed that she'd been right to get rid of Jeff. If she'd stayed with him, then she'd never have been able to eat at Cafe Adriatico. When Jeff saw the video of Jonah and Jake kissing, he felt a little upset, but mostly he felt sorry for Jonah because she didn't know what she was getting into. He knew exactly what kind of person Jake was, and yet she chose to be with him. What a stupid decision. Jake drove a Volkswagen while Jeff had a Ferrari.
You are still thinking about her, aren't you?
A woman's voice came from beside him. Startled, he turned his head and saw Emma. He hadn't even noticed her arrive.
No, she's not worth thinking about.
He smiled faintly.
Good. She doesn't deserve your attention. She gave up on a good man like you for a loser like Jake.
Emma said, shaking her head. She looked at Jeff, her eyes sparkling.
Come on, let's go. I'll treat. We can go wherever you want.
Oh.
Her words reminded him that he'd promised to buy her a meal, but he'd been busy lately and hadn't had time.
No. I'll treat you this time,
he said.
Why don't we go to Cafe Adriatico?
Jeff, I know you've just had your heart broken, so I understand wanting to keep up appearances, but it's not necessary,
she said, smiling at him. She knew Cafe Adriatico wasn't a place that students could afford.
Just trust me.
Jeff couldn't be bothered to explain. They left campus and hailed a taxi to take them to Cafe Adriatico. When they arrived, Jeff took her hand and they strolled up to the doors of the restaurant. Emma panicked. She tugged at his hand to stop him.
Jeff, stop playing round,
she said.
We don't belong here.
He smiled and said.
Don't worry, I'm treating you. Remember, it'll be fine, I promise.
He then pulled her into the restaurant. As they stepped inside, she saw the golden decorations and felt a little uneasy. Her legs felt like rubber and she nervously chewed her lip.
I need to use the bathroom,
she said.
Okay. I'll walk you over there,
he replied. Emma walked into the ladies' bathroom while Jeff went to wash his hands. As he came back out, he saw Jonah and Jage approaching. Jonah was wiping at a mark on her skirt as she hurried to the bathroom to clean up.
What are you doing here?
She hadn't expected to see Jeff.
Jonah.
Jeff stared at her.
Did you just dare to speak to Jonah?
Jake asked, taking a step forward. Anger had his lips drawn tight. This time he would make sure Jeff listened to him.
I'm warning you one last time. Don't even say her name. Don't even think about her.
Jeff ignored him and went to move away from them. Jonah rolled her eyes, and as Jeff moved past her, she stuck out her foot and tripped him, causing him to stumble into the wall. Then she looked right at him and smirked.
You.
He glared at her as he straightened up. She giggled.
Well, you deserve it.
Jeff didn't want to fight with them.
I don't want any trouble.
He thought.
Why can't they just let me leave?
When he tried to move around them, Jonah nudged Jake with her shoulder and tilted her head toward Jake. Jake understood and moved to block his path.
You want to leave?
Jake asked, smirking.
Not so fast. Call me, sir, and I might let you go.
Jonah sneered at Jeff and said,
You must have snuck in. Losers like you don't belong here. If you don't leave now, I'll call security, and they'll throw you out.
She wanted to see Jeff humiliate himself by having to call Jake sir. She enjoyed bullying Jeff.
It was so much fun.
Jeff was furious.
They've already won.
He thought.
And they still won't. Leave me alone.
Emma walked out of the bathroom just in time to hear Jonah's words.
Jonah, stop it. What did we ever do to you?
She asked.
What right do you have to call security on us?
She glared at Jonah.
Ah, so you're here too.
Jonah sneered.
What a pair of losers.
She looked them both up and down.
Why shouldn't I have you removed? There's no way you're here to eat. This isn't a KFC, you know. You can't just walk in here whenever you want.
Emma was so stunned by Jonah's aggression that she was lost for words. But she was also with some truth to what Jonah said. Jeff must have been joking about eating here now. Emma wanted to leave. She hadn't expected to run into Jonah and Jake, and she just couldn't take any more of their attitude. She had no idea what to do, and it was best if they left as soon as possible.
Jeff, let's go.
Emma grabbed Jeff's hand and turned to leave.
And now, you expect to just sneak away?
Jake asked. Jake and Jonah blocked the way out, and Jonah started shouting.
Everyone, look here. These people came in to use the toilet and they're not even customers. Where's the manager? Where's the manager?
Her shouts grabbed the attention of all the customers in the restaurant.
Hey, look at this couple.
She continued.
They sneaked into Cafe Adriatico just to use the high-class toilets without spending any money on a meal. Do you think that should be allowed?
Several customers started to cheer her on.
This restaurant needs to keep out the riff-raff. How can they just walk in here and use the toilet?
She asked.
There are plenty of public toilets. Why can't they go there? Did they just want to use a fancy toilet for free? Did they have no shame?
She shook her head.
Maybe it's even worse than that. Maybe they're hoping no noise and they can find a corner to sleep in.
The manager finally came over and Jonah went to meet him. Pointing at Jeff and Emma, her tone sharp, she asked.
What are you going to do about this? If just anyone can come in and use the toilets, then your hotel will get a terrible reputation.
Please wait a moment.
The manager responded, smiling apologetically. He turned to Jeff.
The facilities are for customers only. I'm sorry, but you'll have to leave.
Jeff, let's go.
Emma said quietly. Everyone was staring, and she felt embarrassed. But Jeff took her arm, stopping her from leaving.
No. We're staying.
He said.
The manager has told you to go, and yet you're still here.
Jonah said, her voice growing outer again.
You are completely shameless, aren't you? You're still determined to hang around us, even though we're so much better than you. It's disgusting. Are you deliberately trying to ruin our meal? And don't you care about destroying the reputation of Cafe Adriatico?
The manager also believed that Jeff was deliberately causing trouble. He frowned.
Sir, please leave now, or I'll have to call security.
Jonah was delighted. She was looking forward to watching Jeff being dragged away by security guards. Jeff looked at the manager and said,
I have a reservation.
You've booked a table here?
Jonah gasped in surprise and then laughed loudly.
What a joke.
She thought.
Even if a loser like Jeff could eat at Cafe Adriatico, then it would lower the value of the place and it would no longer be one of the most exclusive restaurants in New York. Oh, Jeff, you are stupid.
She thought.
You're just saying that to get back at me, aren't you? But you'll just fail even more miserably and it's going to be so much fun to watch.
She could hardly wait to see the embarrassment on his face when the manager challenged him. Everyone watched, waiting to see what happened. Jeff's clothes didn't suggest that he could afford a reservation at Cafe Adriatico.
Sir, please don't make a scene. If you refuse to leave, then I'm sorry, but I will have you removed.
The manager lifted a walkie-talkie, clearly about to summon security. Emma was worried. She frantically tried to think a way out of this, but she was only a poor student and there was nothing she could do.
I've reserved table 8.
Jeff said calmly.
If you don't believe me, then check with that.
Jeff brought out his phone and showed the manager the text that confirmed his reservation.
You've booked table 8?
Jonah asked.
What a coincidence. We also booked table 8. Isn't that interesting?
She burst out laughing.
Jeff must have forged a message from the restaurant before he came here.
She thought.
Imagine pretending to have a reservation and managing to pick the same table number as me.
The manager took Jeff's phone and checked it. He smiled as he returned to the phone, his tone now respectful as he said,
I'm sorry for the misunderstanding. Sir, it was our mistake. I'll take you to your table.